Scott, your mic is still muted.
That's the beauty of live, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me do that over again. The reality is I messed it all up, so it's perfect that it was muted. So hello, everyone. Welcome to Move, Crush, Count. Today's interview is sponsored by J&L Marketing. It's time you get clear on your digital advertising and your direct marketing strategy, because the reality is most companies waste a lot of money online, and you want to do this so you can grow new business, retain clients. So if you want to move the crowd, crush the competition, count the money, I want you to check out jnlmarketing.com. That's J, the word and, L, marketing.com. The title of today's interview is How to Improve Employee Performance. My name's Scott Joseph. Today I'm talking with personal learning. I like to say personal learning. You'll notice, Dave, we cut out the word training. So I'm talking with personal learning and development expert, David O'Brien. And what we're going to talk about today is how to increase productivity, professionalism through continuous learning. So if you want to improve your sales, your professionalism, your customer experience, I want you to tune in now. Welcome, David O'Brien.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
I am doing great. How about
it's
you?
It's Valentine's Day. I was tempted to have either, I couldn't decide between a bottle of Blanton's or flowers for you, right?
Well, I will tell you that more than 9 times out of 10, and I don't know when the 1 time out of 10, 9 times out of 10, I'll take the Blanton's.
I know, right?
Now, if I forgot to buy flowers for my wife, that could be the 1 time that I would take the flowers.
I know you wouldn't do that to Trish. There's no way. No way.
So, no, I wouldn't. So my first set of questions, and by the way, if my voice is a little hoarse, if I come across depressed, I'm following a heartbreaking Super Bowl loss today.
You know, I wondered about you and a real good friend you and I probably have in common, Keith McCluskey up in Cincinnati. I was thinking about lots of folks yesterday. And I got to tell you, I wished for a game, I don't know about you, with a little more passing, a little more excitement. But it just wasn't Joe's year. But I don't think that's the last time you see that young man in a Super Bowl game.
I hope not. It's so hard to get there. When I think about the quarterbacks just in that conference in the AFC, you got Mahomes and Allen, and you got Lamar Jackson, and you got Herbert and Joe. And, that's if Aaron Rodgers doesn't jump ship and come over to someone like Denver or Pittsburgh, And
you're talking to a Bears fan, so you say the word Aaron Rodgers, and I just go, and then you and I have John Travers, both of us. We have a good friend, is our friend John Traver, and he and I go back and forth nonstop during the year about Packers and Bears stuff. And I'm on the receiving end, trust me, of everything bad that comes across.
So yeah, I saw his trash talk earlier this year to the Bears fans.
Yeah,
all good fun.
Well, I might be a little bit hoarse because I'm still fighting the non-COVID version of a cold. So,
well, we're virtual. So if you have COVID, speedy recovery. But I know you don't. So, all right. So first thing we'll do is I want everybody in the audience to understand who you are, where you're coming from, how you got started, what you've got developing now, and what you've started now, because it plays right into what we're going to talk about. And then we can kind of get into some different steps and different things that people can do now to apply some of what you're going to teach and some of what you're doing. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So let's start off. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how you got started in all this.
Yeah. I got started in training because I was a guy who grew up with a dad who was a car dealer. Right. And so my dad's fondest hope was, Dave, don't go into the car business, which I immediately snuck behind his back in college and started selling cars part-time in college in order to pay my way through school. Right. I get out of school and I go into the retail car business in Chicago. I love to give a shout out to Bob Rohrman, who just passed not so long ago, because Bob was how I got, my start in the Chicago car business. He was opening Schaumburg Honda. And there was just some great automotive talent in that dealership. And I cut my teeth in what I call the real world of the automobile business there, right? along that path, I meet some folks that are doing some phone training at the dealership, and it just changed my trajectory as a salesperson, and then it changed my team's trajectory when I was a manager. And I thought, man, this is unbelievable. They helped me become a better salesperson, and I believe that they were the reason I got promoted. And then as a manager, I had the best team because, man, I made sure my team was in training all the time. We were role playing, practicing. So I gravitated to the training business over the years, Scott. And the first company that I was part of, I got really blessed, and we got bought by the old Pat Ryan and Associates Resource Group.
Yeah.
And man, I mean to tell you, it was just a breeding ground for great learning people. I mean, they took it so serious. Think back to those days, how many people were doing video role plays other than the old Pat Ryan guys, right? Sending those VCR tapes back to dealerships. And, so I get involved with Pat Ryan, and man, the world just looked out for me. We ended up with the Chrysler Customer One project. We bought Key Royal Automotive Company out of Birmingham, and we ended up, with all the GMAC lease training all around the country. I learned from really great training and learning people about how to create training, about how to make it interactive, and how to make people's skills stick, right? And I've spent the rest of my career, whether it was then after I left Resource Group, on my own, doing work for Nissan all over the world, doing training for them on human skills and how to help their teams get better. I hate for our dealers to find out that I was trying to help Nissan do a better job of calling on them and not aggravating them so much, but that was part of my work. I had AutoNation all across the country, and I've just been blessed to work with some really great dealer groups, and it took me to where I am today, which is I like to refer to as a reformed part of the training problem.
It's funny you brought up the Rohrman Group to start off. I didn't know that about you. And
Yep.
I don't want to say that they launched J&L Marketing, but I can tell you they were one of our early clients. And let me tell you what, back when we were a smaller company, my brother was the rep at the time, Tom, and it was funny. We used to do really well in small communities, small towns. And I had a limiting belief at the time, thinking we're not ready for Chicago yet. We're not ready for New York yet. Right. Horrible belief system. When I look back, and my brother goes, I'm going to go. I said, all right. So he lands, it gets a meeting with Bob. They sell that. And oh yeah. And from then on, I mean, heavy volume, especially back in those days when it came to direct mail advertising. And, I mean, it really helped launch us. So, I mean, there was a good group for us too. And of course, that's where I met Brad Mugg, mutual friend of ours.
Yep, absolutely. And, Bob was ahead of his time in a lot of things. And he was also this guy that accumulated a lot of stores, but still gave freedom to great general managers to run their business. He just did a lot of really smart things.
Yeah. Let me ask, what roadblocks did let's go now, because at what year did you start Quantum 5, which is, so basically everything you've done up to this point has led you down this training path to try and create something a little bit better, which is now what you've done with Quantum 5, right?
Yep.
And I don't want to say a little bit better, but we'll get into all those type of details. But what made you want to start that specifically? And then what roadblocks did you face early on when doing it?
Yeah. So in October of 2020, the company was born, became public. What made me want to do this was what I watched happening over a few years leading up to it, right? Was this evolution going on in this modern retail environment we all live in now, where consumers were interacting with our websites, interacting with our marketing, and they were gaining more and more information, but salespeople were struggling to create this omni-channel experience, right?
Yeah.
Salespeople and even service advisors I was watching, and they're going, what's this dropping a car off? You're not waiting in my customer lounge. I like to sell face-to-face when you're in my lounge. So as I watched this stuff happening, I had a very good friend who was the president and CEO, had just retired of Predictive Index Worldwide. Her name's Nancy Martini. And I went to Nancy and I said, hey, look, the challenge that I see automotive folks having is that they've focused so much on the steps of a sale that now that the steps of the sale have been blown up, everybody's going, okay, Scott, what am I supposed to do? I mean, what do I do when email's not about creating an appointment, email's about selling a car? What do I do when the phone's not about just gaining an appointment? The phone's about building credibility and trust. And as I watched that happening, I believed there was a solution. I believed that that solution was we had to get people hooked on skills that would make money, skills that a dealer could count on being what would sell more stuff, because we were good to people, not because we had a script or a gimmick, but because now we knew how to be genuine and a skilled sales rep. And so I believed that was the cure. And then I believed that we had to employ technology to help keep training alive. You have a product in J&L that so verifiably shows an ROI to a dealer. Those of us in training have always been stumped by that, right? How do I show an ROI? So we often make excuses. We go, well, Mr. Dealer, I don't know what your managers will do. I don't know this. We tried to put up websites with videos. We did whatever we could. And the consequences were dealers got frustrated with training companies. So I went to my partner, my co-founder, a guy named Ken Herforth, and I said, hey, Ken, I know what you're working on. Ken was a technology guy building an AI-backed content delivery mechanism. And I said, Ken, can we configure the engine so that it delivers training that people need because we digested the data properly? He said, yes. And the culmination of that is where we are today at Quantum.
So let me ask you this question. So to me, I love to look at other industries for ideas, right? And so is there an industry out there that still has, obviously auto is moving into where it's going to be full blown buy online if you want. But because of service departments and things like that, it's not like the brick and mortar is going away. So what industry where it's done a great job of not only marketing and selling, completing transactions online, that also has brick and mortar, what would you say is kind of like an industry to look up to? Because I love what you said earlier. I'm asking this question because of what you said earlier when you said our sales process got blown up when the customer all of a sudden expected to get the information like they do probably in a lot of other industries, right? I'm emailing you, I'm calling you, I'm texting you. I just want to be able to make a decision right now. I don't need to come in. I don't need you to do all this stuff, right? So now that is blown up, what is there an industry you looked at that says they're doing it better than everybody else?
I think there are several that we can look at who are evolving quickly. I'll tell you what I looked at first and foremost, though, for getting the sales staff prepared. I looked at call centers. So if you've ever been to a call center environment, someplace that's got 200-300 seats, right?
Yep.
What you find in there is it is like a professional sports team as it relates to drilling and training and preparing all the time, every day. If you're not on status in a call, in queue for a call, you are drilling, practicing, and training. Training is welcomed in the call center environment as a continuous, never stops environment. In automotive, it was always an event. The OEM, you watched a video, or a trainer came in town and your dealer bought seats. It was an event. So first and foremost, I said to myself, training has to become a continuum. It has to be a drill practice, something that happens all the time. and I don't know about you, but you're in dealerships like I am all the time, Scott. I think we had to stop asking managers to do the work, because those managers in retail automotive, they are some of the finest on the planet at sell people stuff. But stop selling, or stop opening the 8 tabs on your internet browser every morning and going through everything from vAuto to VIN Solutions to you name it. Oh yeah, and go train your people. I just think we're asking things that can't happen. So I said, if we can start to make this a team that is constantly training, constantly learning, constantly getting ready, okay, that's step one. You look at what Brian Kramer does. Training is not an event at Brian Kramer's store, Germain Toyota of Naples, Florida, right? It is a continuum that happens over a series of events that are in the dealership nonstop, helping people get better. So if you had that kind of training, and if you wanted to create a Apple store-like environment, if you wanted to create an experience that was as smooth and simple as it is to go to Chick-fil-A and get a sandwich today, whether you're in Louisville with you or here in Scottsdale with me, right? If you wanted that kind of an environment where customers went, okay, how did you guys figure out how to make this go so smooth? Okay, step one is I got to have a training team that is drilling and ready to go with these folks all the time. Then all I need is a plan, and I surround that plan with a great company culture. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. So when you were going through and gaining your experience over the years, starting with Roram and then on through the different jobs or your career path, what was the big breakthrough that happened for you, the aha moment when it comes to personal development?
So it's an interesting story. I had 2 people quit. I was at a point in my own career where I thought it was about managing people and not leading people. And 2 people on my team, the top 2 people on my team, created a David Letterman top 10 list of why I was the worst bastard on the world to work for. And they turned that list into my boss.
Wait a minute. When was this?
1996.
Well, see, you're lucky because now they just put it online.
Yeah, that's probably true. I never thought of it that way. Right? I still have the list. I've become good friends with both of them, over the years after they left. But they created this David Letterman top 10 list, and my boss is reading it to me. And as he's reading it to me, he's going, Dave, you don't do this, do you? And my answer was, hey, look, this is the auto business. You have to expect what you expect. I have to hold people accountable. And they're like, my boss is like, so you call hotel rooms randomly to make sure they're out prospecting for new business and not hanging out in the hotel room? Yep. You got to inspect what you expect. It's a free marketing ticket when we go to a new town. So from that came this idea for me that, okay, you manage tasks, you manage time, you lead people. And really over the course from 1996 through 2001, in 2001, I called my wife I called my wife and I said, hey, I'm going to quit my job. I said, because I don't think I can be an effective leader here anymore. And she said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. And I didn't know. And the next day I got an opportunity from another great car dealer you probably knew, Tex Earnhardt here in Arizona.
Yep.
And Tex called me in.
That's another client.
Well, I got to tell you,
we've got a lot of overlap. That's great.
Well, I got called in by Tex Earnhardt and a couple of his team, Art Shear and Steve Airy, who were running the organization in 2000. Hal and Jim Babe were there, and they brought me in to at first be part of building No Bull University, and then they gave me the chance to be the first corporate F&I director for the group. And I spent 4.5 just incredible years with the Earnhardt organization back in retail up until 2005. And what I learned in that organization was really being able to have the room from a personal development standpoint to let the words of John Maxwell be more than in a book, to let those words about leadership is really about influence, not about power and title, really become reality for me.
What I really want to touch on right now is just, I want to look at today versus, I guess previous methods.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, how has the world of, say, continuous learning, I'm really trying to remove the word training from my vocabulary. How is the world of personal development, continuous learning? I'm going to say it, let me phrase it differently. What is the relationship with personal development and continuous learning today compared to the past, and why, and what about that is so important?
It's this thing.
Yeah.
We have all
and so for those of you who are downloading this and it's on the audio version, he's
holding up an
David
iPhone.
He's holding up his iPhone. Yes.
Right. And it could be an Android phone. It could be anything. But what happened to all of us over the course of years is that our patience level and our focus level has actually changed dramatically. And therefore, even if you watch kids in the school systems now, you have young kids, and what you find is classes are shorter than when you and I went to school forever ago. And in that, what we've found is that micro learning and the ability to make learning on demand when people want has become more and more important. And being able to tap into people's learning style, to be able to understand, well, wait, some people learn better kinesthetically. They want to do things to learn. Other people are very auditory, like some of the people who download this as an audio content today. Others are very visual. They might want to watch this, and they might want to watch a video that helps them learn and see how to do something. And so today, I think we have to meet this next generation coming into all environments where they are, which is we ought to allow learning to be more flexible. We ought to allow learning to be on demand. I applaud the pioneers of early training that started out and put up great video stream channels where people could access videos. But today, those videos in many cases are still 5 or 6 years old. It's expensive to reproduce those long form. And if you go talk to your daughter, Sophia, and her generation, and you go, hey, what's the maximum number of minutes you want to watch something on YouTube? Their answer isn't 20 or 30 minutes. It isn't even probably going to be 15 minutes. And so if we're going to embrace learning in this next generation, we have to start to get flexible about how. I also want you to go and now sew together that with what we're watching happening with all these people quitting and not wanting to come back to work in the workforce. When you go look at Inc. magazine or Harvard Business Review's analysis just in the last 90 days about why so many people say they quit, a theme in every bit of it, Scott, is this concept of the work was no fun. It was no fun at my place of work. There was no joy. There was no play. Well, I've met you and I've met your team. You guys have a little fun when you're doing your work, right? But the average workplace, and excuse me, but most dealerships embracing fun and play is get off your phone and go wait for an up. It is go back in the room and make some phone calls. And if we don't start to allow learning to incorporate a little bit of fun, a little bit of play, we're not going to connect with this next generation coming into the workforce, and it's going to remain drudgery, and they don't do that kind of stuff.
So how did you come up with the specific idea with what you're doing now with Quantum 5?
My co-founder's smarter than me.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, no. So my partner is a guy named Ken Herforth, right? And he lets me come and be on great things like this. And I always wish he was here with me. Ken was a guy who was on the strategy team for Wells Fargo, got a chance to go into private equity, was part of the team that helped develop Club Penguin from an investment standpoint. You probably got kids that paid Club Penguin at some point. Was there when Club Penguin got acquired by Disney. Was an executive producer on a golf movie that I just absolutely love and tell everybody they should go watch, called 7 Days in Utopia, with Robert Duvall and Lucas Black. So Ken had this really eclectic background of investment and helping companies. I knew that Ken was working on a new technology that nobody had done before, but his was around the health and wellness space. He wanted people to be healthier and he wanted them to be well. And so I went to him and I said, can we reconfigure it? Because I believed if we could get sales content to be fun, if we could get it to people on demand, if we could get leadership skills to people on demand, it didn't matter what the topic was in automotive. If we could get that to them, I knew it would be accepted. So that was 22 months ago. And I then believed, Scott, if I could prove that a business's numbers got better because I could keep helping get their people sharper at skills, I said, everybody will hire me. And all of it was a hypothesis, and all of it was a multi-million-dollar investment gamble. And today, I can tell you time and time again of stores. I just got to be on a call last Friday with a 15-store group whose year-over-year service profitability and CSI was up over 6 digits in each location.
So what you're doing with it's not limited to auto, though, is it?
No, we'll go to other industries eventually,
Okay.
but it takes time to have a robust set of business results that shows people will play in a learning space, in our space, and that will translate to business results.
I'm just sitting here when I think of, all right, I had this sales model. Now the internet and a lot of people are online shopping. I mean, that's blowing up a lot of industries, I guess, sales process or model.
Mm-hmm. And we have less people that have the kind of skills that know how to build trust and credibility in a virtual environment.
How has what you're doing had an impact? So you talked about measuring the performance. Are their numbers going up? How's it had an impact on your clients in terms of getting results when it comes to personal development?
Yeah, I think that's been the best thing. I mean, I'll give you a few stores that have numbers, right? So take, for example, if I said to you, a 20-store group would have an increase in CSI month over month for 9 consecutive months since we started, that'd be okay, right? And that's what we've been able to accomplish with one 20-store group. If I was to say that we were able to get the sales appointment show up rate, right? So salespeople are great at getting appointments. Show up rates are different than an appointment. So what if we could take your good marketing and it was an appointment and it turned into a show up, right? Well, we have right now a 3x improvement in the average one of our clients' show up rate in the sales appointment side of the business, right? What if we could take service BDC and take it from, all right, is this BDC just a throwing money away? Are we crazy to do this? And what if it could be measured down to the RO from the appointment made by the service BDC on a daily basis on a dashboard? So we really take accountability serious. We look at dealers like you all the time and we go, okay, so tell us the numbers you want to get better. And those are the numbers we'll improve or you will fire us. And so far, knock on wood, haven't been fired.
No. So you mentioned earlier that it's got to be, I get the whole, I guess, shorter learning learning, however you define it, chapters or
Snackable.
snack. Yeah. So I get that. No, that would have benefited me, by the way, because my attention span is extremely short. But you also mentioned fun. So how is what you're doing? How have you made it fun for the client?
So my art team comes from the likes of Disney, DreamWorks, Forza, and Marvel Comics. So there's
You
unique.
had me up. You had me at Marvel. You had me at Marvel.
We have a unique set of characters that we have in there. If you were the dealer, Scott, what we also do is we create a character that is you, and we hide you in different animated scenarios. So the team is actually doing their learning. Yeah, there's some live video in there, but there's a lot of live 3D animatics. So they're literally watching a 30-second animated scenario of a customer who comes in on the service drive. And on that service drive, the customer is asking some questions. And then there's question sets about what would the advisor do next. You'll get a kick out of this. We did a focus group to find out if we were on the right track. The art team has created a new scenario where if you're the service advisor and I'm the customer, if you, the service advisor, say something that's aggravating or frustrating or the wrong thing, the customer's head turns into a dragon and breathes fire.
So it's entertaining.
It's entertaining. It looks lighthearted, but there's always question sets, right? And so you have to answer the question sets right to keep moving forward in the game. It's complete game theory in the sense of awards, levels, virtual currency for rewards you want to cash in for.
So if I take the entertainment and the fun part out of it for just a second, I know that plays a large part in it. So, but I'm thinking of just what I'm actually learning. I just want to focus on that for a second.
Yeah.
This could be a horrible analogy, but let's say I pick up a sales book, a book on selling. All right. It's going to educate me on, and of course it's going to have all these great questions in it. It's going to give me these scenarios, and I've got to read through 300-400 pages of this book to probably pull out 10 things I remember at most. That's probably a very high number. 10 things I remember and actually apply. What I like about what you just said, and this is where I kind of this is what popped into my head when you said this. All right. I got one specific thing. I'm seeing it visually. I'm hearing it. So I've got two senses involved right now. And I am a big believer in the more senses that are involved, you probably retain it better. So I've got at least two senses that I'm involved in here, but it's such a short thing where I'm actually seeing it happen and I'm getting a specific thing. And of course, someone can write it down, and now they're feeling as well if they wanted to, and take notes as well. So, is that accurate? I mean, is that why it works
right
better?
on target? Because you could even take those notes inside the application as well. But now let's add one more ingredient to you. What if you had a question and you could also chat with a real human, the community manager on my team? And he's an experienced automotive person. And what if you could go, hey, I just watched this video and I had this crazy customer recently and I need to write them an email to try and get an appointment. What if there was a coach at the other end? What if you weren't just in the technology, but there was a human there to help you as well? Because I think the most important thing we blended together with our technology, Scott, is we kept humans involved in the process. Because car people and salespeople, doesn't matter who you are, we don't want to be left alone yet. Just, I'm in an app and there's nothing else there, right? So I blended together everything I just described to you with Marvel quality animatics. But at the other end of it, you can reach out to a guy named JV or Sean or Brendan or Phil. And at the other end of it is Rebecca waiting and Mai waiting. And what they're there to do is when you go, so I had this customer on a phone call earlier today. What should I have tried? That there's somebody there to help you on top of just technology.
Nice. Tell me a little bit about training tools, maybe techniques, strategies that you feel like today are obsolete, that business leaders out there, if they're, you know, they should kind of, maybe they're wasting time on that.
Yeah, so I think I can describe it best as when we talk to our team instead of involve our team, we're out of date and we're wasting time. Hey, look, I don't think it's just this generation. You and I learned better when people said, hey, Scott, here's a problem. How do you think you could solve it? And people got us thinking. In automotive and in B2B training as a whole, Scott, I don't care if you're talking to somebody that owns apartment complexes and is trying to train their team on how to rent better, or whether you're talking to somebody who is in the commercial real estate sales business. When you talk about learning today, people learn better when you involve them. So our interactive inductive process, that's a fancy way of saying interactive, we're going to talk with you, meaning two-way dialogue. Inductive process means I'm going to allow you to help solve the problem. So for example, all the training we do starts with a simple question. It says, hey, Scott, before we do any talking, here's what we're going to talk about today. When you think about that situation, tell me about the challenges and frustrations you've had in helping a customer do X, Y, or Z. So I think when dealerships or any business owner does not slow down in today's learning environment to say, hey, gang, I'm not talking about blame. I'm not talking about rear window results. I'm just saying, as we look at the challenge of customers who want to do this, this, or this, what kind of roadblocks are you running into? What are the challenges? What things would you like to get better at? I call it motivation to learn, Scott. So in any company, anyone talking to their team ought to want to establish motivation to learn. Because when I say I want to solve a problem, I fight harder. Is that fair?
Yep.
And it's no different than it is with eating habits or going out and working out, right? When I buy in that I should eat kale instead of chocolate, when I buy in that a 2-mile walk is better than watching ESPN Sports Zone, right? When I decide that, I keep walking and I keep eating kale. And so everything we do in learning is about how do I help you recognize your own motivation to learn? So if you're still doing slides that have statistics on it, if you're handing out scripts and going, Scott, say this when you make this call, I think you ought to question it. Why? Because I don't know that it ever worked as well. Some of the organizations I described to you that I was blessed to work with, like Pat Ryan, it's why we put people on video so that they could think, so they could create their own word tracks for how to present products to people. And I think that's what great learning still does today, is it allows freedom to people of problem solving.
Where do you think there's big opportunities when it comes to training that maybe some business leaders might not? It's easy to sit there and say, all right, I've got big opportunity in sales, right?
Yeah, I think you and I were together when we had this conversation with a bunch of smart folks. I'm going to say it's around retention of existing business. Yeah. It's about connecting that existing business to our dealership because we're there for them and not trying to sell to them all the time. It's why I like the work that Sarah Van Tyne's put together for us on Service BDC, because Service BDC, we call it People First Service BDC. And the reason it's people first is because it's the customer and the employee first. And when you retain both those people, now you got magic that happens on the customer experience side.
Well, and you just bring up customer experience. So for me, this whole show is about trying to help business leaders, specifically really in markets where they're feeling marginalized and commoditized, right? Auto is a great example of that in normal times. Race to the bottom on prices, the internet, the world wants to marginalize or commoditize products and services because let's face it, they pay less when that happens. And so, to me, if you really want to stand out, rise above all the noise, however you want to say it, differentiate yourself from everyone else, it's really going to come down to the client experience. And at the foundation of every great client experience are the people within an organization, within a company. And so to me, I see this as several opportunities, right? I see this as, all right, I become more professional. I become more efficient because as people are trained, there's less people asking other people questions on how to do something. And quite honestly, it improves the client experience because no client wants to be put on hold and or run around while someone has to ask 2 or 3 people the answer to a question. But you touched on another thing that I think is critical, especially right now, and that's employee retention. And right now, almost in every business vertical, there are companies hemorrhaging people, right? I mean, they call it the great resignation, right? That's what we're dealing with right now. Have you seen with any of the clients you're working with an improvement? Are you measuring that?
Yeah, we're measuring several different things, right? We're measuring employee engagement, which is, that net promoter score. That's the employee net promoter score, right? So what does the ENPS look like for that client? You're right on target here, right? Because if you don't have happy employees, and I don't mean happy like, gee, you bought me a pizza. I mean like happy, this is the place I'm supposed to be. They share my values. They teach me how to treat a customer good, and they support me treating a customer good. I mean, it all comes together that there's a culture whereby they go, okay, I'm supposed to be here and I'm going to put my whole heart in. So when you create that kind of environment, all of a sudden creating customer experience, okay, that gets a whole lot easier. But if you only focus on, hey guys, you got to treat customers better, and you grind away at, or try to bribe your way to better CSI or experience, it almost always is fleeting, right? It gives little momentary bumps and then it goes back to the old ways.
Yep.
And so I think customer experience, again, you and I, you touched on a couple, right? I mean, let's go look at Chick-fil-A for a minute. What is it? $14 an hour, $15 an hour you can make at the front line of Chick-fil-A. Average worker is under 22 years old. Have you ever been to one that didn't say yes sir, no sir? May I help you? What else can I do to serve you? Excuse me. And in the automotive environment, I think you and I were around some folks recently when they said, we should set the bar higher, hold people accountable to the bar, and then let's just reward that they're going to deliver these great experiences with the bar the where it is. And I think all too often there hasn't been any penalty. There hasn't been a price. You gave some statistics at a meeting I was at with you where you talked about how many of their service customers never come back and how many are actually in the market to buy every month.
Yeah.
New, used, all sorts of things, right? And if we don't start in any business to create customer experience, not just during a sale, like, boy, I'm going to lay the love on now, but afterwards. There's a dealer group not far from you that you and I both know that is working with a company on the after the sale messaging to their customer base that has dramatically improved their sales. And they never ask people to buy anything. The communication after the sale is all about, I want to be here for you. By the way, here's just an article about the coming electrification of vehicles. Forget the brand, forget us. Just here's what's coming. And so when I
If
look at
it, if
good businesses, they're taking care of who they have.
if you want to receive more, you got to give more.
It sounds so trite to say, but the more you give back to your consumer base, the more it always turns around. It's no different than in when your own heart is full of generosity and when your own heart is full of giving, you get it back as fast as you give it out.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I'm always interested when someone disrupts a situation, and I would say what you're doing is disruptive in the we'll call it the training vertical, just so everybody else knows what's going on here.
Mhm.
But in this continuous learning space you're in, personal development space, you said 22 months ago, correct? Is that
Yes.
right? Did I remember that right? All right. So 22
Yep.
months ago, I'm curious, especially, and I don't know how long it took you to develop where you're at and when the idea started. So if you started at 22, certainly the idea came before then. But how has the idea and what might have been originally launched change? I'm always curious as the evolution, especially in the beginning, because a lot of times we have this great idea. We say, this is foolproof. This is exactly what everybody needs and wants. And then we get 3 months in, if we do our job right, we listen to our clients, and all of a sudden things start changing pretty quick. So can you walk us through just a couple of things that might have changed, or what was that evolution like for you guys?
Yeah, the gentle word is evolution, right?
Yeah.
um, I'd say first and foremost, a belief that's had to change was we believed there'd be about an 80-20 split. 80% of our clients would be comfortable doing learning live virtual like you and I are doing right now.
Yep.
And 20% would say, no, come to the dealership. And it's been the reverse. 80% of our clients say, come to the dealership. 20% say, my people will be okay if we do live virtual learning environment. So that's caused us to have to make a dramatic shift.
Okay.
One of the other things that happened to us early on was
Wait a minute. What percentage did you say you had to go to the store?
80.
So not only are they making clients come to the store, but they're making they're making everybody come to the store.
Yeah, it is. It is that whole transition. Adam Grant in his book Think Again said, we have to provide people a continuity bridge from old to new, and I am stuck on the continuity bridge right now of my team flying on airplanes. So that has been a big shift for us. The other big shift was we would be able to do follow-up live virtual learning once they had met us face to face. Do a little survey, ask any of our friends in business, and this doesn't include just automotive. Go ask anybody you know in business, of all your employees' computers, how many of them have an audio card and a video card, speakers, and a camera. Now, specifically, go look at an auto dealership and go look on their desks. So we were going to do live virtual training like this, and we thought, okay, great, they'll be at their desks.
Yeah.
They can at least have some privacy. No video
Yeah.
card, no audio card, no speakers, no cameras.
Yeah.
So we had to make some adaptations. I have an inventory right now of almost 50 iPads, and we shuttle iPads to dealerships so that individual learners, when we're doing follow-up classes, have an iPad for use for a week, and then it gets shipped back to us.
I'm curious, what was the process like for you guys? Like, when you're going through that and you're realizing, I'm just sitting here thinking, for any entrepreneur or any business leader maybe wants to launch a new product or a new service, ultimately this always happens.
Yeah.
There are things we don't think about. Their real world smacks us in the face. We want it to be this way, but real world hits us right in the nose. and we have to be quick to adjust. Did you have like a process to be able to adapt real quick to this, or was it just paying attention and going with it?
We had two things going for us. One, I'm short and I'm bald, and therefore,
That helps everyone. That
taking,
helps everyone that's short and bald.
well, taking shots at me or having things go wrong rolls right off my back, man. Doesn't bother me. And the other thing was, seriously, my partner Ken is an engineer by training, right? Yeah. And so as we built the business, we built it like a science project. We had a hypothesis, but the only way you know if your hypothesis is right is by testing it and see what goes right and what goes wrong. Correct. It's like our content in the app right now. We fully expect people to not like 20% of the content. Well, the thing is, I don't know what 20% until nobody uses it. And then I know don't make more content like that.
And just so I want to touch on this. I don't want to lose sight of this right here, because we haven't talked a little about that.
Yeah.
So in the past, if I was going to go online and watch training videos, this and that, it is what it is. That's the content. And I either like it or I don't like it, but I got to watch it. Right.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is no one learns unless they're actually participating and in doing it. And you're monitoring no different than a social media post, right? What posts get great engagement? Which posts don't? And so if you're doing your job as in social media, you're constantly putting out content that gets the best engagement. So you're constantly adapting or evolving and adjusting the training and the videos based on the highest engagement. Is that accurate?
Yes. So it is the AI part of our name, right? So you guys in marketing have done data science so much better than learning has, right? Yep. So now what if you could take that data science and go, okay, and here's the content I have. I have animation that is 3D animatics. I have 3D static. I have 2D. I have live video that we've recorded at dealerships. I've got audio that are like phone recordings or conversations. And I've got visuals that are like emails between you and a customer or texts between you and a customer. I also then have question sets that come with those. Some of them are swipe left, swipe right, think Tinder. Some of them are multiple choice.
I wish Sandy Cerami was on here.
Yeah, right. So what I have to find out uniquely is, what does Scott like? Wait a minute. Scott doesn't like the 3D stuff. He's not a fan of the animation, but he really digs the live video done at a dealership. He really digs the audio. He only does multiple choice. He doesn't like swipe left, swipe rights. So as I get learners on the platform, I watch, we accumulate that data. Now, what if I also got dealership data? What if I was getting data from the dealership CRM and DMS that says, you're not selling enough tires as a service advisor? So now I know your learning style. Don't send him animation. Send him live video, audios, and multiple choices. And I know to start sending you more stuff about objections to tire sales and how to get more tire business. So my AI on the back end does sophisticated sorting of what you get, not to manipulate you, but I want you to go home to your family and go, I rocked it today. Hey, I got 3 tire sales trying this new way of building value, and people bought them.
Well, that's why they'd be contracting you, right? I mean, that's why, listen, no one wants to do training. No business leader wants to buy a training program that doesn't work. And quite honestly, no employee or nobody on our teams want to participate in it. So if it's more relevant and more, however, whatever works for them, and it sounds like you're catering it to the individual, to me, it's not manipulation. It's just intelligent.
It is using the best of technology, but using it to take care of people and not exploit them,
Right.
right? It's let's do this to make your life better. And along the way, guess what happens? Your employer's life gets better because you're more effective at your work.
What have I not asked you when it comes to personal development, continuous learning that you want to talk about?
One of the things folks always seem to want to know is, gosh, this sounds cool, but will it appeal to all the generations in my workplace?
Good question. Yeah.
And it's been surprising to us, right? We've had salespeople and service advisors from their 60s all the way down to their 20s go through the training and engage with us inside the app and in community. I think some of the best things that I've heard from more my generation, right, has been, okay, where was this kind of attitude about helping me learn years ago? And then they love to tell the stories of the big glass discs that we used to get sent by the OEM, before DVDs were ever a thought. We all remember the VHS tapes we would get. I remember learning on you remember Automotive Satellite Training Network, ASTN? When they sold a separate satellite that went on top of the dealership to beam in learning, right? And I think what has been fun for us is seeing across all generations engagement. We had a salesperson come to us who was in his, I think he was probably in his later 50s, during one of the earliest phases. And he said, he goes, if you guys stick around long enough to really get the managers to buy in, he goes, I got to tell you, this will be the first time that I've been able to be me and be great at sales. Well, think about that for a minute, right? We've spent so much time focusing on scripts and steps and 10 steps to a sale, that we haven't given people enough room to want to be in our industry. You mentioned turnover. We can't continue to have the turnover. We need more stores like Ed Roberts down at Bozart Ford in Lincoln, right? What did he have? 2% turnover last year, right?
Yeah, they do a great job, which is unheard of in this business.
It almost makes you get skeptical. Like, okay, he's making that up, because you just don't hear enough folks talking about it. Good friend of yours that owns a Honda store there in Louisville. Incredible retention of his people, right?
Michael Porro,
right? Yep. And we need the industry to have more stories like that, because we appealed to everybody about, what if we could just help you get better at your career? What if we could be there to support you? What if training was in your pocket? A coach was at the other end of a phone call or a text? What if it could all be simple and easy? And for sure, I think that's been the best thing that's happened for us, really, is that this wasn't something that was just appealing to the under 30 crowd.
Well, when I sit here and you just walked us through from the AI standpoint of what continuous learning and personal development can look like, it doesn't matter the age, because if your AI is doing it, it's identifying, all right, Sandy Cerami, he likes it this way. Scott Joseph likes it this way, right? Dave O'Brien likes it this way. So it doesn't matter the age, because your technology is going to adjust. It's going to personalize and customize based on the preferences, right? So, and so what I like about that, it's customized to the individual. In marketing, we used to do business with, we still do business, but when we first started doing business with some different OEMs, manufacturers, they were very quick to tell us, anybody over this period of time is an inactive customer. Anybody over under this period of time is an active customer. And we used to tell them, Well, that's kind of basic segmentation and you're generalizing. But from a marketing standpoint, I have the ability to determine by each individual if they're active or inactive. Someone that drives 25,000 miles a year doesn't fit into the same measurement that's compared to someone that only drives 10.
Right.
Someone that drives 25,000 miles a year needs to be in more frequently than someone that drives 10, right? So you can't just use the same arbitrary anything over 18 months or 12 months or whatever it would be. It's got to be per individual and based on their driving patterns. That's just one element of it. So
Mhm.
what I like about yours is it reminded me of those days, and it took us a while to kind of convince people of that, but to me, the customization, the one-to-one is what makes it unique.
And it has to be fresh content all the time.
Yeah.
For those of business owners like you and I, right? The first thing we have to figure out is what is the most scalable part of our business, and therefore where does money have to be aimed, right? Well, let it be no surprise that where I aim money all the time is in fresh content.
Yeah.
We produce about 1,000 new fresh pieces of content every single month because I have to have things that are relevant to a learner all the time, and they can't go, yeah, that's the same thing I watched last month. I already beat that question.
Exactly. Why keep going back
No.
if it's not? That's a great point. That's
Yeah,
another advantage over what you
be
were
fresh and
saying
different.
from the video, the older video style trainings that were done. That's a good point.
Yeah, and again, all we did, Scott, was we figured out how to do it at scale, right? There's other good training companies out there producing videos, but
Yeah.
come on, you're in this business. How expensive is it to go get studio space to record good
Correct.
quality stuff, right?
Yep.
And so for the average training person who's them and two friends that are doing the training, this is not an easy proposition to produce all this stuff. We've just been blessed with figuring out how to do it at scale so that I can always have it fresh.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to thank you, David. Outstanding interview. And I tell you what I walk away from this is, first off, I didn't know some of the things you were doing on the AI side. I knew what your product looked like visually, all right, in terms of what we've talked about before, but I had no idea that you were adapting and customizing the way you were, and it was all based on real world scenarios, on actual engagement. And so, most people that are listening to us, they're caught up to speed. They understand the importance of engagement. And that's why I wanted to use that social media analogy, because I was like, all right, if I've got posts that are working a certain way, I'm going to keep doing more of those. Right. And so if I've got training that's being effective and I've got people watching this type, that one person, I want more to go to that person like that. And Larry over here that might be entirely different needs to be fed a completely different style. So
That's right.
I love that. And so if anybody gets anything out of this, hopefully they walk away saying, wow, maybe my training would go a lot better if I just customize it to the individual.
I don't care how you do it. Even if you're doing it in your own business right now, figure out your people's way of wanting to do things, their learning style, and customize, because it's about helping somebody connect with how they want to learn. Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit more about Quantum before we ended here, about Quantum 5? What are you most excited about?
The team.
Yeah.
I've never been around a collection of great humans like I'm around now. I've never had the opportunity, Scott, to have people catch the vision and go, I want in, the way we have with this company. I've always had to go out and try and hire and, get people to want to come in. And now my greatest challenge, I got an email from a guy recently who took a different job, and he goes, it breaks my heart that I'm doing this, and I hope I get a chance to come back at you. I just know the time for you is not right for me for that position. So I'm most excited about the people and the team that I have around me. I'm most excited about the ability to show you can actually help people get better at their job and they can have fun doing the learning.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is, the thing that excites me the most is I'm thrilled to see that there's a way for the 370,000 people in automotive to keep adding value to great customer experience. It doesn't have to be technology only. We can do this blend, make great gross profit, and we can retain customers by the blend of both.
Well, I think just blowing up the old sales model, most of everything starts online at some point, but how do you merge the two? Because at some point, even if you're just delivering a car to someone's home, or a product or shipping it, at some point there's an interaction of some sort, right? And so
Yeah.
I love what you're doing there. So again, this is Scott Joseph. I want to thank David O'Brien for sharing with us today. I want to thank all the business leaders in our audience who decided to tune in to the Move Crush Count. Top executives, when it comes to continuous learning, personal development, I want you to pay attention to this man. You can find him and more information about David, more information about Quantum 5 at quantum5.ai. So it's www. I got it scrolling here at the bottom of the screen if you're watching us on video, quantum5.ai. I want you to make sure you follow and or subscribe to the Move Crush Count podcast at movecrushcount.com, as well as you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. You can join our groups on Facebook and LinkedIn where experts like Dave are on there. He's part of those groups. So if you have questions in there, type away at him, send him personal messages, whatever you got to do. If you got questions, he'll answer. Today's interview was sponsored by J&L Marketing. And I talked about this earlier. Most companies waste a lot of money online, especially with their advertising. It's time you get clear with your digital advertising and your direct marketing strategy so you can grow new business and retain more clients. So if you want to move the crowd, crush the competition, and count the money, check out jnlmarketing.com, and they'll save you hours of time. They'll do a free competitive analysis that delivers the most actionable and tactical and timely digital marketing tips you need to outsmart your competitors, not outspend them. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, buddy.